The final problem. I feel very sad to write these last words about my friend Mr. Sherlock Holmes. I have tried to tell about my strange times with him from when we first met in a study in Scarlet to the time he helped with the naval treaty. His help stopped a big problem between countries. I wanted to stop my story there and not talk about what happened next. This next thing made a big empty space in my life. 2 years have passed, but the pain is still there. I must write now because of some letters from Colonel James Moriarty. He wants to protect his brother's name. I must tell the true story as it really happened. Only I know the whole truth. I think it is time to stop hiding it. I know there are only 3 news stories about this. One was in the journal de Genève on May 6, 1891. Another was from Reuters in English papers on May 7. The last one is the letter I mentioned. The first 2 stories were very short. The last one is wrong and changes the facts. Now I will tell for the first time what really happened between Professor Moriarty and Mr. Sherlock Holmes. After I got married, I started my own work. My close friendship with Holmes changed a little. He still came to me sometimes when he needed help with a case, but these times became less and less. In 1890, I only remember 3 cases with him. In the winter of 1890 and spring of 1891, I read in the news that Holmes was working for the French government on a very important case. I got 2 letters from Holmes, one from Narbonne and one from Nimes. They showed that he would stay in France for a long time. So I was surprised when he came into my office on the evening of April 24th. He looked even paler and thinner than before. Yes, I have been working very hard, he said when he saw my face. I have been very busy lately. Do you mind if I close your window shutters? The only light in the room was from the lamp on the table where I was reading. Holmes walked quietly to the window, closed the shutters and locked them. Are you afraid of something? I asked. Yes, I am, he said. Afraid of what? Of air guns. My dear Holmes, what do you mean? Watson, you know me well. I'm not a nervous man, but it is not brave to ignore danger when it's near. Can you give me a match? He smoked his cigarette, slowly and calmly. I am sorry for coming so late, he said. Also, please let me leave your house by climbing over the back garden wall. But what is happening? I said. He showed his hand. 2 of his knuckles were broken and bleeding. It is not nothing, he said, smiling. It is real. A man can hurt his hand like this. Is Mrs. Watson at home? She is visiting someone. Really? Are you alone? Yes, I am alone. Then it is easier for me to ask you to come with me for 1 week to the continent. Where? Oh, anywhere. It does not matter to me. This was strange. Holmes did not usually take holidays without a plan. His pale and tired face showed me he was very nervous. He saw my question and explained. You never heard of Professor Moriarty? Never. Yes, that is the smart and strange part, he said. This man is everywhere in London, but no one knows him. That is why he is very famous in crime. I tell you, Watson, if I could stop this man and free people from him, I would feel my work was the best and I would want a quiet life. Recently, I helped the royal family of Scandinavia and the French government. Besides of that, I could live quietly and study chemistry, but I could not rest, Watson. I could not sit quietly if I knew Professor Moriarty was free in London. What did he do? He has done many strange things. He comes from a good family and is very smart in math. When he was 21, he wrote a book about math that was popular in Europe. He got a good job at a small university and had a good future. But he had bad family habits. Crime was in his blood. His smart mind made him more dangerous. People heard bad stories about him at the university. He had to quit his job and go to London. There, he worked as a coach for the army. This is what people know. But I found out more. You know, Watson, no one knows the criminal world in London better than me. For many years I felt there was a power behind bad people, a power that stops the law and protects criminals. In many cases, forgeries, robberies, murders, I felt this power. I guessed its actions in many crimes I did not work on. For years I tried to find it. Finally, I followed a clue and it led me, after many twists, to Professor Moriarty, the famous math man. He is the Napoleon of crime, Watson. He organizes half of the bad things and almost all the secret crimes in this big city. He's very smart, a thinker, and a great mind. He sits still, like a spider in the middle of its web, but the web has many parts, and he knows every small movement. He does little by himself. He only plans, but he has many helpers who are very well organized. If there is a crime to do, a paper to steal, a house to break into, or a man to remove, the word goes to the professor. Then the crime is planned and done. Sometimes the helper is caught. Then money is given to help him pay bail or defend himself. But the main person who uses the helpers is never caught and never even suspected. This is the system I found, Watson, and I worked hard to stop it. But the professor made strong and clever protections. No matter what I did, it was very hard to find proof to win in court. You know my skills, Watson, but after 3 months, I had to say I met a man as smart as me. I was afraid of his crimes, but I also admired his skill. Then he made a small trip, a very small trip, but it was too much when I was close to catching him. I had my chance. From then, I slowly caught him. Now my net is ready to close. In 3 days, on Monday, things will be ready. The professor and his main helpers will be caught by the police. Then will come the biggest criminal trial of the century. More than 40 mysteries will be solved, and all will be punished. But if we start too early, they may escape at the last moment. If I had done this without Professor Moriarty knowing, all would be good, but he was too smart for that. He saw every step I took to catch him, again and again. He tried to escape, but I stopped him many times. My friend, if someone wrote about this quiet fight, it would be the best story about detective work. I have never been so good, and never had such a hard enemy. He hit hard, but I was just as clever. This morning the last steps were done, and only 3 days were left to finish the job. I was sitting in my room thinking when the door opened and Professor Moriarty came in. My nerves are strong, Watson, but I was still surprised to see the man I had thought about so much standing at my door. I knew his look well. He is very tall and thin. His forehead is round and white. His 2 eyes are deep in his head. He has no beard, looks pale and simple. He looks like a professor. His shoulders are round from studying a lot. His face sticks out and moves slowly from side to side, like a strange reptile. He looked at me with curious eyes. "You have less front brain than I thought," he said finally. "It is dangerous to touch guns in your robe pocket." When he came in, I knew I was in great danger. The only way for him to win was to stop me from speaking. Quickly, I took my gun from the drawer and put it in my pocket. I pointed it at him under my clothes. When he spoke, I took the gun out and put it on the table, ready to use. He smiled and blinked, but his eyes made me glad I had the gun. "You do not know me well," he said. "No, I think I do," I answered. "Please, sit down. I can give you 5 minutes if you want to talk." "You already know what I want to say," he said. "Then maybe I know your answer," I said. "Will you stop?" he asked. "Never," I said. He put his hand in his pocket, and I took the gun from the table, but he only took out a small book where he wrote some dates. "You stopped me on January 4, he said. "On January 23, you made things hard for me. By February, you were a big problem. By the end of March, you stopped my plans. Now, at the end of April, your actions put me in danger of losing my freedom. This is too much." "What do you want me to do?" I asked. "You must stop, Mr. Holmes," he said, and moved his face. "You really must stop." "After Monday," I said. "No, no," he said. "You're smart, and you know what will happen. You must give up. You made this hard, so we have only one way left." I liked watching how you worked on this case. I would be sad if I must do something bad to you. You smile, but I mean it. Danger is part of my work, I said. That is not danger, he said. It is sure destruction. You stop not just one man, but a big group. You cannot see how big it is, even with your smartness. You must get out of the way, Mr. Holmes, or you will be crushed. I'm sorry, I said, standing up, but I am forgetting important work I must do. He stood too and looked at me quietly. He shook his head sadly. Well, well, he said at last. It is too bad, but I did what I could. I know all your moves. You can do nothing before Monday. This is a fight between you and me, Mr. Holmes. You want to put me in jail. I tell you, I will never go to jail. You want to win? I tell you, you will never win. If you can destroy me, I will destroy you too. You said good things about me, Mr. Moriarty, I said. Let me say one to you. If I knew you would lose, I would happily accept losing too, for the good of the people. I can promise you one, not the other, he said angrily. Then he turned his back and walked out, looking and blinking. That was my strange meeting with Professor Moriarty. It left a bad feeling in my mind. His soft and clear way of speaking made me believe he was honest, but he was not just a bully. You may ask, why not use the police? I am sure the danger comes from his helpers. I have the best proof that is true. Have you been attacked already? My dear Watson, Professor Moriarty is not a man who waits quietly. Around noon, I went out to do some work on Oxford Street. When I passed the corner from Bentinck Street to Welbeck Street, a two-horse van came very fast and almost hit me. I quickly jumped to the sidewalk and saved myself by a little time. The van turned fast by Marylebone Lane and went away quickly. After that, I stayed on the pavement, Watson, but when I walked on their street, a brick fell from a roof and broke near my feet. I called the police, and they checked the place. There were stones and bricks on the roof for repairs. They said the wind pushed one down. I knew it was not true, but I had no proof. Then I took a taxi and went to my brother's rooms in Pall Mall, where I stayed all day. Now I came to you, but on my way a rough man hit me with a stick. I knocked him down and the police caught him. I am sure there is no link between that man and the quiet math teacher who is maybe working on a blackboard far away. You will understand, Watson, why the first thing I did when I came to your house was to close your shutters, and why I asked to leave by a different door, not the front one. I often admired my friend's courage, but never more than now, as he calmly told me about many dangerous things that happened in one day. Will you stay here tonight? I asked. No, my friend, you may find me a dangerous guest. I have my plans ready, and all will be good. Things have gone so far now that they can act without me to arrest, but I must be there to help in the trial. So, it is clear I must leave for the few days before the police can move. It would be good if you come with me to the continent. The work is quiet, I said, and my neighbor is kind. I will be happy to come. And start tomorrow morning, if needed. Yes, it is very needed. Here are your orders, and please, my dear Watson, follow them exactly. You are now playing a hard game with me against the smartest bad man and the strongest criminal group in Europe. Listen, tonight send your luggage with a good helper to Victoria without a name on it. In the morning, call a hansom cab, but tell the driver not to take the first or second cab that comes. Get into this hansom and go to the Strand end of Lowther Arcade. Give the driver a paper with the address and ask him not to throw it away. Have your money ready. When your cab stops, run fast through the arcade and get to the other side at 9:15. There, a small carriage will wait by the street. It is driven by a man in a black coat with a red collar. Get in it, and you will get to Victoria in time for the Continental train. Where will I meet you? At the station. The second first-class carriage from the front is for us. So, the carriage is our meeting place. Yes. I asked Holmes to stay for the night, but it was no use. I could see he thought he might bring trouble to the house where he was. That is why he wanted to leave. He said a few quick words about our plans for the next day. Then he stood up and came out with me into the garden. He climbed over the wall that leads to Mortimer Street. Then he whistled for a hansom cab. I heard him drive away. The next morning I did exactly what Holmes told me. I got a hansom cab carefully so it was not one waiting for us. After breakfast I went quickly to the Lowther Arcade. I walked fast through it. A small carriage was waiting with a big driver wearing a dark cloak. When I got in it, he hit the horse to go fast. We went to Victoria Station. When I got out, he turned the carriage and drove away quickly without looking at me. So far, everything is going well. My bags were waiting for me, and I found the carriage, Holmes said, easily. It was the only one on the train marked engaged. My only worry was that Holmes was not here. The clock showed only 7 minutes before the train was to start. I looked for my friend among the people, but I could not see him. I helped an old Italian priest. He wanted the porter to send his bags to Paris. I looked again, then I went back to my carriage. The porter gave me the old Italian as a travel friend, even though it was not right. I could not explain well because my Italian was worse than his English. I was worried because Holmes was not here. Maybe something bad had happened to him during the night. The train doors closed and the whistle blew, when suddenly, "My dear Watson," said a voice, "you did not even say good morning." I turned and was very surprised. The old priest's face changed. His wrinkles went away. His nose moved. His lips stopped mumbling. His dull eyes got bright. His tired body stood up straight. Then the old man fell down again, and Holmes left quickly. "Oh my God," I said, "you scared me." "Every careful step is still needed," he said quietly. "I think they are close behind us. Ah, there is Moriarty himself." The train started to move while Holmes spoke. I looked back and saw a tall man pushing hard through the crowd. He waved his hand to stop the train, but it was too late. The train moved fast and left the station. "With all our care, you see we just made it," said Holmes, laughing. He stood up and took off the black coat and hat he wore to hide. He put them in a bag. "Did you see the morning paper, Watson?" "No." "Did you see the news about Baker Street?" "Baker Street? They burned our rooms last night. Not much damage." "Oh, Holmes, that is very bad." "They lost my track after the man with the stick was caught. They did not know I was back at my rooms. But they watched you, and that is why Moriarty came to Victoria. Did you do exactly what I told you?" "Yes." "Did you find your carriage?" "Yes." "Did you know the driver?" "No. It was my brother, Mycroft." It is better not to tell a stranger in a case like this, but we must plan what to do about Moriarty now. This is a fast train, and the boat goes with it. I think we have left him behind well. "My dear Watson, you did not understand me. This man is very smart like me. If I chased him, I would not be stopped by a small problem. Why do you think he is not smart? What will he do? What would I do? What would you do? I would get a special man to help. But it is late now. No, this train stops at Canterbury. The boat is always late at least 15 minutes. He will catch us there. It seems we are the bad men. Let us catch him when he comes. That would ruin 3 months of work. We would catch the big man, but the small ones would escape. On Monday we will catch all of them. Now, we must not catch him now. What then? We will get off at Canterbury. And then? We must travel across the country to New Haven, then go to Dieppe. Moriarty will do what I would do. He will go to Paris, check our bags, and wait 2 days at the station. Meanwhile, we will buy some new bags, help the countries where we travel, and go slowly to Switzerland through Luxembourg and Basel. At Canterbury, we got off the train. We had to wait 1 hour for the next train to New Haven. I was still looking sadly at the luggage van with my clothes inside. Then Holmes pulled my sleeve and pointed up the railway line. "Look, it is already here," he said. Far away from the Kent woods, thin smoke went up. After 1 minute, a train came fast around the curve to the station. We quickly moved behind some luggage. The train passed with a loud noise, and hot air hit our faces. "There he goes," said Holmes. "We saw the train move over the tracks. Our friend is smart, but he has limits. It would be clever if he had thought like me and acted. What would he do if he caught us? No doubt he would try to kill me, but this is a game for two. Now, should we eat early here or wait until we get hungry in New Haven?" That night we went to Brussels. We stayed 2 days there. On the third day we went to Strasbourg. On Monday morning Holmes sent a message to London police. In the evening we got an answer at the hotel. Holmes opened it and threw it into the fire with a curse. "I knew it," he said sadly. "He escaped." "Moriarty?" "They caught all the gang except him. He got away. When I left, no one could catch him. I thought I gave the police the chance. I think you should go back to England, Watson." "Why?" "Because now you will find me a dangerous friend. This man's work is finished. If he goes back to London, he is lost. If I know him well, he will use all his power to get revenge on me." He said this when we met for a short time. I think he meant it. I tell you to go back to your work. It was not easy to make an old friend and a strong man change his mind. We sat in the Strasbourg dining room and talked for half an hour. But that night we started our trip again. We were going to Geneva. We spent a lovely week walking up the Rhone Valley. Then we turned at Luc and went over the Gemmi Pass. There was still a lot of snow. Then, by way of Interlaken, we went to Meiringen. It was a nice trip. The spring below was green and fresh. The winter above was white and clean, but I could see that Holmes did not forget the danger that followed him from one moment. In small alpine villages or on quiet mountain paths, I saw his quick eyes and how he looked closely at every face. I knew he thought that we could not get away from the danger. Once, I remember, when we walked over the Gemmi, near the sad Dorbensee lake, a big rock fell from the hill on our right. It hit the lake with a loud noise behind us. At once, Holmes ran up the hill. He stood on a high rock and looked all around. Our guide told him that stones often fall there in spring. Holmes did not say anything, but he smiled at me like a man who knows what will happen. Even though he was always careful, he was never sad. On the opposite, I cannot remember seeing him so happy. Again and again, he said that if he knew society was safe from Professor Moriarty, he would happily end his work. "I think I can say this, Watson, that I have not lived without purpose," he said. "If my work ended tonight, I could look back with calm. London is better because of me. In over 1,000 cases, I do not think I have used my power in the wrong way. Lately, I have wanted to study problems from nature, not the small problems that come from our society. Your stories will end, Watson, when I finish my work by catching or stopping the most dangerous and smart criminal in Europe. I will be short but clear in what I still have to say. It is not something I want to talk about, but I know I must not leave out any detail. On the 3rd of May, we came to the small village in Meiringen. We stayed at the Englischer Hof Hotel. The hotel was run by Peter Steiler, the elder. He was a smart man and spoke very good English. He worked for 3 years as a waiter in the Grosvenor Hotel in London. He told us to start our walk in the afternoon of the 4th. We wanted to cross the hills and sleep at a small village called Rosenlouis. But we had to be careful not to go past the Reichenbach Falls without stopping to see them. The falls are about halfway up the hill. The place is very scary. The river is big because of the melting snow. It falls into a huge hole. The water sprays up like smoke from a fire. The river goes down a deep crack with shiny black rocks on the sides. It goes into a boiling pool that is very deep. The water flows over the edge and goes on fast. The green water goes down with a loud noise. The spray goes up like a curtain. The noise and movement make a man feel dizzy. We stood near the edge and looked down at the bright water far below. We heard a loud shout with the spray coming from the hole. The path goes halfway round the waterfall so people can see it all, but the path stops suddenly and people have to go back the way they came. We were about to go back when a young Swiss boy came running with a letter. The letter was from the hotel we left. It was for me, from the landlord. The letter said that a sick English lady had just arrived. She was very ill and could not live long. She had stayed in Davos-Platz during the winter and was going to meet her friends in Lucerne. But she suddenly started to bleed badly. It was said she had only a few hours to live. She wanted to see an English doctor. The landlord asked me to come back. He said the lady would not see a Swiss doctor and he felt this was a big responsibility. I could not say no to the letter. It was important to help an English lady who was very sick in a strange country, but I was worried about leaving Holmes. We agreed that Holmes would keep the Swiss boy with him to help and guide him. I would go back to Meiringen. Holmes would stay at the waterfall for a while. Then he would walk slowly to Rosenloy. I would meet him there in the evening. When I left, I saw Holmes standing with his back to a rock and his arms crossed. He looked at the water rushing down. That was the last time I saw him in this world. When I was near the bottom of the hill, I looked back. From there I could not see the waterfall, but I saw the curved path on the hill. A man was walking very fast on that path. I saw his black shape clearly against the green background. I watched him and how fast he walked, but then I forgot about him as I went on with my work. It was a little more than an hour before I got to Meiringen. Old Styler was at the door of his hotel. I asked, "Is the sick lady any worse?" He looked surprised. When his eyebrows moved, I felt very afraid. I showed him the letter and said, "You did not write this. There's no sick English lady here." He said, "No, of course not, but the letter has the hotel mark. Maybe the tall Englishman who came after you wrote it." He said, I did not wait to hear more. I was afraid and ran down the village street. I went back to the path I came down. It took me 1 hour to go down. I waited 2 more hours, and then I was at the waterfall again. Holmes's walking stick was still there, leaning against the rock, but Holmes was not there. I shouted, but no one answered. Only my voice came back to me, echoing from the cliffs. Seeing the alpine walking stick made me feel cold and sick. Holmes had not gone to Rosenloy. He stayed on the small path. On one side there was a high wall, and on the other side a deep drop. He stayed there until his enemy came. The young Swiss boy was gone too. He was probably working for Moriarty. He left the 2 men alone. What happened then? Who can tell us? I stood still for a few minutes. I was shocked and afraid. Then I thought about how Holmes worked. I tried to understand what had happened. It was easy. We had not gone to the end of the path. The walking stick was where we had stopped. The ground there was always soft because of the water spray. Even a bird would leave marks on it. I saw 2 sets of footprints going away from me. No footprints came back. A little far from the end, the ground was soft and muddy. The plants and small trees near the deep place were broken and messy. I lay down and looked down over the edge. Water spray was coming up all around me. It was darker now. I could only see some wet parts on the black rocks. Far away at the bottom, I saw the water shining. I shouted, but only the same strange cry of the waterfall came back. But I was to have one last greeting from my friend and helper. I said that his walking stick was leaning against a rock near the path. On top of the rock, I saw something shiny. It was his silver cigarette case. When I picked it up, a small square of paper fell to the ground. I opened the paper and saw that it had 3 pages from his notebook. The pages were for me. It was like him to be exact. The writing was strong and clear, like he wrote it at home. "My dear Watson," he said, "I write these few lines because of Mr. Moriarty. He waits for the right time to finish the last talk between us. He told me how he avoided the English police and kept knowing what we did. This shows how smart he is. I'm happy to think I can stop his bad work, but I am afraid it will hurt my friend, especially you, my dear Watson. I told you before that my work was at a hard point. Nothing could end it better than this. I must tell you honestly, I thought the letter from Meiringen was a trick. I let you go on that task because I knew something like this would happen. Tell Inspector Patterson that the papers to catch the gangs are in Pigeonhole M. They are in a blue envelope and say Moriarty. I gave all my things to my brother Mycroft before I left England. Please say hello to Mrs. Watson for me. Believe me, my dear friend, very sincerely yours, Sherlock Holmes." A few words are enough to tell what is left. Experts looked carefully and think that the two men fought and fell down together, holding each other. Trying to get their bodies was impossible. Deep down in the scary water, the most dangerous criminal and the best lawman of their time will stay forever. The young Swiss man was never found again. It is clear he was one of the many helpers Moriarty had. About the gang, people will remember how Holmes's proof showed their group well. The dead man's power was very strong on them. Few details about their terrible leader came out in the case. If I now tell clearly about his life, it is because some people tried to make him look good by attacking the man I always think was the smartest and best man I knew.